Thank you so much for joining us for another week in our series, A Story to Tell. Today we have with us Mrs. Kahyee Jordine, and she'll be sharing her experiences with us. Before we start, just want to remind you about our WhatsApp group for TTN. If you have your products to be advertised, we serve approximately 17,000 persons across the globe. So if you have your products to be advertised, you can contact us in the description below. So we're going to kick it off now with Mrs. Jordine. She'll be sharing her early years at Pentab Basic School. You went to Pentab Basic School in the 70s, was it? I don't want to date you, but I might have to do that. Pentab was formed, I understand, in the early 70s. 77 it was?
I think it was 77.
Yes.
Right.
And you came shortly after that school was formed. Any memorable experiences back then? Any teachers you probably remember from Pentab Basic School?
Well, I went to Pentab in 1979.
Yes.
And I fondly remember the cellar experience.
Yes.
We as kids normally play under the cellar.
Yes, yes.
Teachers who I remember is like Miss Nunes and Mrs. Berry, of course. Not remembering all the other teachers, but I do remember Miss Mundy, Miss Nunes, and Mrs. Berry as the principal of Pentab Basic.
And for the record, you could just let us know the name of your parents and if you had other siblings at the time.
All right. At the time, no, I didn't have any other siblings, but it was my mother, Marcia Williamson, because she was married in 79, I think, and my dad's name is Conrad Mullings.
And you were born in Central Kingston there?
No, I was actually born in Harborview.
Harborview,
right,
okay.
Because that's where my dad is from.
Okay, but when you started to go to school, you moved?
When I think my mom got married in 1979, I think I left Harborview as a baby.
As a baby?
Yes.
Okay.
And started to live in Central Kingston.
Central Kingston.
Yes.
Okay, after Pentab Basic School, you went on to Michael.
Yes.
How was that experience going to a bigger school with lots more children?
I didn't have an issue going to Michael. I was always the type of child who adapts to any environment that you place me in. So Michael was a very good experience for me because I'm very outspoken and very straightforward, you know. And so I had a good experience at Michael because the teachers there always tend to...
They saw leadership qualities in you.
Yes,
so
they
got you involved in various groups and clubs and stuff.
Right.
Tell us probably one or two of the clubs that you were associated with.
Well, I was associated with the Brownie Club, but not for very long. But at Michael, what happened was that I got a lot of leadership roles when it came onto the canteen. I was a student who was in charge of the canteen.
From what grade?
From grade 4.
From grade 4?
Right. So I was in charge of the canteen, and when I came over now to grade 5, right, I was the one who checked off and helped in the canteen area during our lunchtime.
Yes.
And then we're the selling of the books and the pencils and all of those stuff. I was one of the students who was involved in that area.
And you took the common entrance in grade 5?
Yes, I did.
And you were successful, and you went where?
I went to Convent of Mercy.
Oh, that's
Academy.
Alpha on
That's
South
Alpha
Camp
on
Road.
South Camp Road, 26 South Camp Road, yes.
Okay, so basically through primary school, would you say that you were disciplined academically and otherwise? Your mother never have to run you down too much, forget you to do your work, or?
No, I was disciplined in all areas. I mean, in primary school, my mom didn't have to come to school at any time for me.
Well
I was not a rude child.
Yes.
I was a very outspoken child.
Yes.
And would just say whatever it is that is on my mind without being rude. But I was never indisciplined, right? And even where my studies were concerned, I was very disciplined. I'm not a person who studies, but I'm a person who does well in my academics.
Okay, so probably have a good memory then. You listen once in class and then you apply it at exam time.
That's
so
it.
Did you apply this principle or this strategy when you went on to Alpha?
Yes, I went on to Alpha Academy, and Matter of fact, when I was in first form, I came first.
What?
In the entire first form. So it was like 6 first form.
Yes.
And I was the
and
top
each class
student.
have about 40 children.
Exactly.
So 6 fours is what? 24?
A lot of children,
Out of 240, you come first.
Right.
My
so not
word.
only in my class, but the entire first form. And it followed me to second form, where I also was first. Placed first in
So you're born
entire.
bright then, man.
Why you could have said so?
My God. You get all of the brains.
I think God has blessed me.
So
in that
you were
area.
doing well first farm, second farm, and
Yes.
in those days, did it occur to you what you probably wanted to be, a doctor, a lawyer, you know, the regular teacher? Or you weren't thinking about it at second farm?
I was never thinking about that at second form. I
Yes.
always wonder, with my peers, always know who and what they want to be, but I've never said I wanted to be a lawyer, doctor, intern-chief,
Yeah.
never. Never, maybe because I have a nonchalant spirit. I was just going through, and I guess my academics and my brilliance would take me somewhere. I thought it would have taken me somewhere at some point, but never.
Any
never.
teachers you remember back from Alpha?
Alpha. Well, Sister Bernadette, who was my principal, Miss Chase. Wow. I don't remember.
I won't
a lot of
pressure you,
teachers.
'cause I know it's been a while.
Yes.
It's not last year.
Why my brain not so young again at all.
Yes,
Not
but they
remembering.
too saw you had potential. And,
Yes.
and what subject areas would they recommend that you went in?
When I was in second form, they chose me to do 4 CXC subjects at the 4th form level. And this was mathematics, English, principles of accounts, and principles of business. Right, so they started to tutor me from second form to get me ready to do those CXC subjects in 4th form.
So did you get to do any in 4th form?
No, I did not do any in
How
4th
come?
form. Lord Jesus, a long story, oh my God.
Tell us a short version.
By the time I was in 3rd form, I became very not interested in school anymore.
By 3rd form?
By 3rd form. By 3rd form, that's the form now you had a lot more subjects, not 9 or 8 anymore, but now you had 13 or 15 subjects.
So is it the workload?
No, it was never the workload, because workload, when it comes down to school,
you could
workload
manage
was
that.
never an issue for me.
So what happened?
I think it was my home experience. At that time, we were living in what, quote unquote, we'll call the ghetto, and a tenement yard. So a lot of people.
So multiple families. Living in a space.
It was just a loose tenement yard, a lot of men, a lot of smoking, a lot of cursing, a lot of fighting, you know, and my mom was not happy in the home situation, so it really affected me.
Yeah, it spill over on you. So if mommy not happy, you eventually not happy.
You know, because she couldn't afford to feed us properly because she wasn't working. You know, so there were a lot of negatives, a lot of things that I just could not manage. So when it came on to school, I just forgot about it and just said, hey.
Most of the time, probably at school, you're thinking about home and this needs to be sorted out and how is this going to be resolved.
And you know, when you look around here, you see all the other students moving ahead. You see their mothers, their fathers, and you know, things going on for them, and you say, you know, what's wrong with you? So that made me very discouraged, and I just basically lost interest in school, forgot about school. I was going, but I was not going.
Just going through the motions.
Right. So by the time I reached 3rd form, I came out of the program. I stopped going to the program, and then.
And they never got to take it in 4th form.
I didn't take them in 4th form.
So you tackled them in 5th form.
In 5th form, I did 5 subjects, right, and I got 4 out of the 5.
Okay.
Last one was French, and I didn't go to a French class much less, but they thought I could, but
you didn't get the French.
No, I didn't even.
Bonjour.
No, none of that.
All right, let's not go down the French route. So you left Convent of Mercy, which is Alpha. And you went straight into the world of work.
Yes, I did.
How was that? And about how old were you at that age when you graduated?
I graduated in '93, so I was what, 17 would have been 17.
They are about.
Yeah, they're about 17. So I started to work at about 17, right? Because I graduated in 93 and I started to work at the tax office in 1994. So I was 17. The experience was good for me because I adapted well. I didn't have issues learning. I learned to work very fast.
Oh, you got the job?
The job, no. I was at home for a while, and then my mother's friend, daughter, told my mama that her office was taking on young people and I should apply. And I applied and I got the job. Right there. Yeah.
So that's
I was successful.
So that's the tax office, right?
That's income tax.
Income tax.
Yeah, 116 East Street.
East Street near to Gleena.
Next
That's all
door to
building.
Gleena.
Okay.
Yes.
And what area they assigned you to?
I was in like the refunds units, where we deal with the retirees,
pensioners, and
right,
stuff.
and the pensioners, right. Yeah.
So you were enjoying working your own money, no one thing.
I was enjoying working my
Ton
own
big
money,
man.
right. And by that time, I was living basically on my own.
On your own,
right?
No, man, you're fully independent now. Okay. So you were there for a few years. How much years you stayed there?
I was at the tax income tax from 1994 to 1999.
Okay.
Right.
And then you had your first child soon after.
I had my first child in 1996.
96.
Right.
Okay.
While I was still at income tax.
Income tax. How was that?
Being at income tax and being a clerical officer, you know, government, so you know the salary isn't great.
Yeah.
I can remember at that time taking home like $3,000 for the entire month. And then now with a young baby at that time who did not have an a active dad, it was left on me alone to care for this child.
What happened to daddy?
Daddy went away when I was about 3 months pregnant, and he never came back.
But not to cut you, your father also went away.
And my dad went away. So
when did your dad went away?
My dad, I didn't know my dad until 2001.
Okay.
Right. So that's quite a number
of years. He was away, and now you come into a similar situation where your child's father went away, not really planned or scheduled, but you just had to rush out.
Right. So now my life is mirroring my mom's life.
Yes,
you know?
A single parent type
of thing. A single parent. So I had to be just trying to make ends meet for my child at income tax. I mean,
but with a salary like that, what
exactly?
You could hardly buy food and the diaper and stuff.
So by the time we buy the diaper and I bought the milk, at that time I could not buy formula. I had to give him Lasco. So you know Lasco cheap. It's not like now Lasco expensive. Yeah. Lasco in those days was just coming in, so it was very cheap, right? And so that's all I could feed him on, Lasco. I remember days when I didn't have what to eat, much less to give the child to eat. I remember sitting crying. The next door neighbor look over and say, "What are you?" I said, "Nothing is wrong with me." He said, "You are crying, the baby I cry. What are you? Hungry or not hungry?"
Baby hungry, man.
Yeah, and I said, "I don't have anything to give the child to eat." And I remember him throwing 2 Lasco over the fence to give me, and I told him, "Thank you." And that's how, you know, I could feed the baby for the day. I remember another time again, it was a friend from the tax office who sent her friend to give me $200. I'll never forget that day, to buy something to give the baby to eat. It was a very rough season
but you
of
hung
my
on
life.
In there
but
and tried to make ends meet.
I hung on in there.
And your son got ill at an early stage. Tell us about that illness.
Yes, in 2000, first of all, income tax, there was a reorganization, and I was transferred to Inland Revenue, now in a more efficient position. So now I was a compliance officer.
More money now. Last time done now.
To God, right? And at this time, miraculously, Lestine, my dad just came. One day just called my mother's phone and said he saw somebody, and somebody gave me my number from my mom, and he called my mother's phone, and he said he's sending some money for me. I can remember that in those days it was $40,000.
What?
that he sent. And every week for about
Western
6
Union?
weeks.
Western
I don't
Union?
remember how I got it, but like for every week for about 6 weeks. That was a time when I was trying to go back into church after being backslidden. I remember for about 6 weeks straight he was sending money and sending money. And this is how I could wean myself away from the gentleman that I was, you know, locked in a relationship with, go back to church. And then, you know, I changed job.
Yes.
Bam, I changed job. I stopped hearing from my dad. But thanks be to God, the job, you know, offered a little more money. So I went to Inland Revenue, and just as I went to Inland Revenue, about 2 months after Akeem became ill.
That's the name of your son, Akeem?
My son's
Akeem
name is
Jordine.
Akeem Jordine. So he was at school one day, and he was at Pentab. And, you know, they called me and said he's not responding and stuff. I took him to the doctor, and they sent him to UA. And they found out that a fever had hit his brain cells. So he was having seizures, right? So he was having seizures. And he had to be admitted in the hospital for 2 weeks, where they ran tests, and I don't remember the name of what the doctor called it, his brain cells, if it's freezing. I don't remember what they did, but they did some sort of procedure to help the damaged cells. Yeah, but that was basically it. So it's seizures that he was having.
So how did that affect him, like in layman terms, on a day-to-day basis? It didn't affect him academically. He was still performing, but the medication affected his behavior. So he was being very rude, very naughty, spitting on people, you know. It was very he was very hyperactive, and, you know, at that time you're broke, nothing not going for you, and then pick near gear trouble. So some people would view him as a very rude little boy.
Very rude little boy.
But they're not knowing that it's probably the side effects of the medication.
Side effects of the medication that really damaged him, but he's okay. So
that was his final year at Penta Basic School, and the illness came. So which school did you assign him to now when he moved on?
The doctors recommended that he went to a school that had a small amount of children, so he had to go to a private school.
So he could get more attention.
Right, because they had to watch him, they had to see what how he was performing and all of that, so the public school would not facilitate that. So they sent him to, the doctor recommended Liberty at the time, which was on Arnold Road, and at that time I don't quite remember what the school fee was, but I know 3 months of my salary could not have paid that school fee. But anyway, it's per term because it's a private school, preparatory school. But anyway, the doctor said that he had to go to a private school, so I just had to make the sacrifice and send him to a private school. So
let's backtrack a little. I know you were the first one for your mother. During that space leading up Alpha, did she get any more siblings? You got any more siblings?
Yeah, man. My mother got married in 1979 to my stepdad, Carl Williamson. And then I got a brother in 1980.
What's his name?
His name is Khalil Williamson. And then by 1983, my sister came. Her name is Karine Williamson. So we were a family of 5.
Okay.
My mom, my stepdad, and us 3 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he moved on to, your son moved on to Liberty.
Yes, he moved on to Liberty.
And how did he get adjusted now? The first year at Liberty, with this challenge and thing, did he manage to adapt himself to the new environment?
Yes, he adapted very well. That illness for Akeem, it's as if it did not happen, because it did not affect him in any way really. I took him off the medication myself because his behavior was getting progressively worse.
Yes.
So I took him off, and by that time I was back in the church, because I was basically born.
Hold on, back in the church. You were in the church before?
Yes, man. So my mom took me to church when I was like 10 months old. So basically you can say we're born at church, right? And I was there
involved in Sunday school, all of those little
Sunday
things.
school, singing on the choir, everything. Until teenage years, I just...
You got a little distant from the church thing.
I just cut the church thing, you know, and went to explore the
other side.
Yes. Right. And so, by the time Akeem was like 4, I was heading back into the church.
Because I guess you tried everything and
I
everything
tried everything. Everything failed, Leslie. At this stage, now I realized that it was a setup.
Yeah.
That everything failed.
Yes.
Because the Lord just didn't want anything to work for me. He knew where He wanted me.
You meet up on a dead-end road.
Everywhere me turn,
dead end.
the road dead.
Yeah.
You understand? So
you had to turn to Jesus.
I just had to turn back to my Savior. So Akeem was okay. He was doing well, but by this time, I was having major behavioral challenges with him because now he's 6, 7. He doesn't have a dad around. I am always on the hustling, taking care of him but trying to hustle.
And sometimes you have to leave him with people.
Exactly, and at the same time I was going to school because I was going to university at that time. So I have a baby, no money, nobody to take care of him, no dad.
And working full time. It affected me and it affected him. And so his behavior was really, really bad. They had to send him to psychologists. We took him to psychologists. That did not help until they asked me to remove him from the school. From the school?
Yeah.
Which school was he going at the time?
Liberty.
Liberty, they asked you to
private
remove him?
School. They asked me to remove him because what happened was that he was very brilliant, and they were saying no matter what they give him to do, he just did it in a jiffy and started to create havoc all over the place.
So they couldn't really hold him attention for too long?
They could not hold his attention.
For too long?
And he was just having a whole lot of issues, tantrums and stuff, and they just could not manage him at that school, so they asked me to take him.
So you went to, what you said, VAS it was?
He went to VAS Preparatory after that, yes.
Oh, and how did he get to VAS now? You knew somebody out there?
Yeah, man, my stepfather was working at VAS at the time, and so I said, you know what, let me send him to VAS where my stepdad is. Maybe it would be a better experience that he's where...
You can give an eye on him.
Exactly. And so I sent him to VAS, and really it was not a bad experience. They never had to call me at VAS to say, I mean, when you go there, they'll say, boy, mommy, Akeem jumping off the rooftop, because Akeem would climb up on the high roof and just jump down.
Yeah.
You know, but
full of energy.
Full of energy. But they never really had to call me to say that, you know, his behavior was poor. And what happened though with him was that his academics had fallen because I guess he was no longer focused.
Yes.
Yeah. When I took him to the psychologist, she said that one of her analysis was that he was rejected from the womb.
From the womb?
Yeah. So from inside, he was rejected.
How is that
the body
possible now?
I don't know, but she said the body rejected the child. Psychologically, I rejected the child while I was pregnant.
Can I pick up your mood?
Well, Leslie, I don't know, but that's what the report said. And so she said he was born feeling rejected and then born not having a dad.
So them things are possible? From in the belly, you get rejected?
Exactly. And that is why you just know that this world is a spirit world, right?
Yes.
Right. And then she said, me leaving him every minute to go away, to hustle, it's just constant rejection. So that was a part of him now, so he was just on a different level.
So you had to make a decision if you must continue school or not.
Exactly. So for me, I had to drop out of university because at the time I could not afford sending him to the prep school and me going to university. I could not, nobody wanted to keep him, nobody had the time to keep him. My mom and my sister used to keep him at one point, but then I wasn't living with them. It was very difficult to drop him off there, take him, pick him up and all of that. So life was just very, very difficult. Very, very, very difficult for me. Very, very, very difficult.
So he stayed at VAS until GSAT age and he took GSAT?
Yeah, he stayed at VAS until GSAT age. He took GSAT and he passed for Kingston College. Very good grades. His average was like 92 or 93.
So you kind of pick up back in the latter stages?
with Akeem's ability, I mean, 92 was, you would look for Akeem to get a 99 or a 100 average. That's how brilliant he was.
So that was still below par.
Was still below par for him,
yeah.
right? Because I remember at Liberty, one of his grade 2 teachers said he is looking in the future to hear about Akeem, how brilliant Akeem was.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You know, is you him get that from though?
Yeah, man.
That's
It's
the
me.
gene.
Same father says me.
No, it's true,
right?
because same thing, you come in first,
It's the same thing.
in first farm, second farm.
And that's how I realized. So I mirrored my mom, and then Akeem, know life is coming to mirror mine.
Yes.
You know, and that held its own demons for me. But he went to Kahyee, and Kahyee, you know, was
another challenge.
the big drama. Oh my God.
Yes.
They kicked him twice from Kahyee.
Got expelled?
Yes, but because he was a footballer.
Yeah.
And the coach at Kahyee at the time used to play with my dad.
Yes.
Who was a past footballer for Harborview and Jamaica. Right. So he played with my dad at that time. So when he found out it was Balance grandson, sorry, he said, no man, they can't kick him, and he tried to pull him back into Kahyee.
Intervene, yes.
Right, so at that time Akeem wasn't interested in school really, he wasn't doing anything. And of course that hurt, because then I just saw myself again, you know. He sat
around that time when you were going to Alpha,
exactly,
it was the same thing.
Same thing. He sat 7 CXCs, he got 6. Without any effort. I can remember when Akeem was finished with CXC and finished with Kahyee, I was cleaning his room and I saw his literature book. Last thing you know, when a book has been opened,
brand new.
You know that crease outside when a book cover has been opened. The books have never.
Maybe he was reading it online. Yeah, the e-book.
Well, maybe the e-book, you know. And so it just shows how brilliant that little boy was. He still is brilliant. So he didn't get to graduate from Kahyee, but they could not take his subjects from him. So he left with his subjects, and then JC took him for 6th form.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you were still at Inland Revenue at that time. Tell us how
I was still at Inland Revenue. For me at Inland Revenue,
I had to stop the university.
I had to stop university, so I couldn't get to complete my degree. And by this time, I owed every bank in Jamaica. I owed all credit unions.
I had to be taking loans
because I had to be taking loans to supplement my income.
Yes.
And even, last thing, I tried a lot of things. I used to sell grape and apples at my office. I used to come to work early Friday morning, go to the market, buy grape, buy apples, come back and sell.
Do a lot of hustling.
I used to do gift baskets. I used to decorate weddings. I used to sell bleach and fabric softener. I used to sell fabric. I just tried everything to let ends meet so I could help my son, because of course he was in private school.
Yes.
So, and at the salary at the time, you know, the bank wasn't lending you enough money anyway. They lend you something, but they're not lending you everything. So I still had to be borrowing, trying to make ends meet, and it still was not meeting, you know. So by the time I was at, by the time he finished
JC?
No, he didn't finish JC. That was a story by itself, because remember he met in an accident and damaged the whole of his leg. Right, so he couldn't get to finish JC. So I was out of university and I'm at the tax office, and then I met in an accident in Florida and damaged my back.
So why everything happened to you after happened to him in a
I don't know. His life just
mirrors mine. Of yours.
Yes.
So he met in an accident, damaged his leg, couldn't get to finish 6th
Well,
form.
when I damaged my back, it was long ago. And then the work became difficult for me because I couldn't stay for long periods. I was coming into work late. They didn't believe I was sick because I was operating the same. I was still wearing the heels. And no matter how I said to them, the doctor said I still have to wear the heels because it's not good for me to be flat. I was off work for 18 months one at a time without salary, with all these loans to pay. Esteem, I can remember.
Some trying times.
Yeah, man. When I got my payslip, you get the payslip, but it's $0 on it.
Yeah, because
zero.
it go back to loan repayment.
It go back to loan repayment. You know, it was $0 on it. So life was just really tough, really rough, really rough, really rough. But I managed, and so he went to JC, and then by 2012 I quit the job because it just wasn't working.
Wasn't working out.
No, it wasn't working because the office thing that I'm taking them for granted, which I wasn't taking them for granted, but I do understand why they would think so, because I was not at work because I was ill, but I was still trying to travel, trying to hustle, because I had no other form or way to feed my son. I had nobody giving me anything. So I was not getting a salary from work. I had to try something.
So you went away and buy stuff and sell back? Like what you used to buy? I
used to buy shoes, clothes, handbags, anything that I could find to buy.
So you leaving the job now at Inland Revenue? That's King Street?
That's King Street.
Okay, so you leave that after how much years being in that government system.
Right.
What were you going to do now?
Well, before I actually left the job, what happened is that the last thing I started to sell was some hats, some small hats that I saw some people wearing, and you know, I investigated and they told me where to get them, but they were estate hats, you know, from those long times, so it's vintage hats.
Yes.
And I started to wear them, and then people started to ask me for them, and I started to buy them and sell them back. And when I started to buy them and sell them back, now people became interested. They were buying them like crazy. But after a while, people started to ask me for pink and red and yellow, different colors. And I was like, hello, I'm just selling what I get. It was started to get very frustrated because people were saying, oh, you're not doing business. Yeah. They didn't even understand that I was not making these hats. I was just selling them. Yes. You know, but
you realized there was a need.
I didn't even realize there was a need. As I tell you, I'm nonchalant. I wasn't even thinking along that line. I know I just selling, and I don't have any pink, and I don't have any red.
Don't have any pink.
I just sell for feed my son.
Yes.
And take care of myself and make my loan payments and stuff. That is it. But then I met, while driving through Portmore, one day I met one of my girlfriends, old girlfriend by name, Dorcas Rankin is her name. And she said to me, KK, it's good to see you here, you know. What are you doing now? I'm still on the job, but, you know, selling some old hats. And she said, wow, you know, I'm making hats. And I said, what? And she invited me over, and I showed her what I sold. And she said, then you don't think you can make these? And I said, no, dear, I don't have a creative skill in me. I'm a book girl. Yeah. And she said, no, man, KK, you can make these and leave the work, man. And she pressured me for 18 months to try to make these hats, and I didn't pay her any mind. I just went about my business, and until one day she packed up some material in her box and said to me, go home
and try
for yourself. Because I believe she pushed me, and I'm grateful to her every day. And I said, I can't do this. And I can remember I went home and I said, all right, then let me try. Yeah, and I made my first hat. And Fadage bought that first hat from me that I made. And
big up Fadage.
Big up Fadage, right? Andrea Dage. And I never looked back from then. And that is what enabled me to just leave the tax office because it was getting really bad.
So you started making the hats now?
Yes. So
all
I started
different colors?
Yes.
So basically sometimes we really don't know our true potential. Somebody have to see it, identify it, and push
pull it out. Pull it out, man. Dorcas did pull that out of me. And I'm really grateful to her.
So you started making the hats in the various colors and business started to boom from there?
No.
Wasn't that simple?
My dear, it wasn't that simple. It wasn't that simple. The thing is, back up a little bit, was that the job just was not working out, and I was trying to seek a way out. And one day, I met the former owner of Chapeau, which is on Slipe Road, and she told me she was selling out, you know, and she was asking me if I wanted it to buy, and I told her, no, I couldn't afford. I asked her how much it was going for, and she told me, I said, no, I couldn't afford that amount of money. And we exchanged pleasantries and we parted our ways. So But at that time, I had just taken a loan from the bank to go to China to try to see if, you know, something
buy
could
some stuff and
buy
sell
some
back.
stuff, because the job wasn't working out. It was too rough on the job. By this, I didn't have a desk at work. I didn't have a computer. Everything was against me because, you know, they just had their own vision of me, which was not so.
So that tell us.
Right, so it was
ways.
very uncomfortable for me. So I really wanted to go, but I was hanging on because I was not well. I needed the insurance,
From
the health
card,
insurance.
because of the back issue that you have.
Right. So this was now 2010. And I left, I went to China and I came back. And in November when I came back, Mrs. Thomas called me and asked me if I'm not interested in the business. And I told her no, but she said, Kahyee, I heard you're making hats and whatever. She said she had a buyer, but she just wants to give it to me. But I told her no because I could not afford it. Right, and I had the bank to pay back.
For the China trip.
For the China trip. But by this time, 2010, my son's father, Vincent Jordine, came to Jamaica for the first
After
time.
all these 15 years.
After all these years. After he left me from 3 months pregnant and wasn't really doing much for the child. So he came back and he, you know, he was apologizing.
And you were excited to see him and everything?
And I was not excited to see him. I could not have been excited to see him. This man was the reason for my sorrow.
Yes.
You understand?
You didn't have that support that you
I
needed.
did not have that support, and I had to give up the me for
sacrifice for your son.
Sacrifice for the son.
So you start cussing him out and everything?
Yes, man, because I could have been somebody and I remained nobody because I had to sacrifice for my son. And so I did tell him off up by the hotel there, tell him off and stuff, and
get that
you
out
know,
of the way.
get that out of the way. And he was still proclaiming how much he loved, and I said, love.
I said, for true.
So after that, no, he went away, but he started to come back very regular.
Really?
Right, and so
he had other business doing?
No, dear.
Why is he coming back?
To look for his son and his son's mother.
Oh my word.
So by then no, I said to him, this lady is selling this business and she's offering it to me, but I don't have the money. I told him the amount of money. He said he didn't have that kind of money, but he could help me to pay 1/5 of it. And then let's see how it would work.
From then.
I told her about that. She said that was not really acceptable because she wanted her money, and I could understand that. But anyway, after a while she agreed. And he sent me some money and I gave her the first part of the money. And in March of 2012, I didn't even pay her a quarter of, I still just had paid her 1/5. She said to me, you know what, I'm going to turn over the business to you. And she's given me 3 more months to pay the balance. Of course, that 3 months turned into a year because those type of money I could only dream about.
Yes.
Because at this time, while trying to pay her, I was leaving the job with a debt of over $3 million, almost $4 million. I never own a home.
Yes.
Just by borrowing money from the bank, trying to make ends meet. I owe. No, I would not answer from a private number because every bank was calling me, every credit union, because of all of these monies, you know, that I owed. So that burden was on me. And then, now this.
Yes.
But anyway.
So you took this one by faith?
I really believe it was God that brought it to me, and I stepped out by faith. So I paid her, and within a year, I paid her all the money.
Within a year?
Within a year. I can't say how much money it is.
You don't have to say.
But trust me,
yes,
God, it was a miracle.
So that was a miracle in and
that
of itself?
That was a miracle in and of itself.
All right, we soon got to that miracle part in general. Right. But so you open, what's the name of the store? Tell us about it.
So the name of the store is Lakeem Hats, and it's located at 12 Slipe Road, Kingston 5. It's on the property of Emmanuel Apostolic, same place where Chapeau Hats used to be. So we are still located right there.
And what products and services do you provide?
We sell hats.
Okay,
Our main business.
I think I have some hats right here. They just show me. This is one of your products?
Yeah, so now this is
what is going on right here?
This is a fascinator.
Yes.
Right? So this, I have a bun, so I don't know if it can go on my head. But it's something like that.
Oh, that's why you would wear it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's looking, but
Yes. Yeah, looking this
something
camera
like
right
that.
here. Yes.
I can't see in the camera,
Yes.
but something like that. But so this is a navy blue fascinator that we make. Can be worn to church, can be worn to the horse racing.
Yeah, this is something similar.
Yes, and that's something that this one is also something similar, but a little fancier. Right. So we make fascinators, we make bridal pieces, we make hats for
This
church.
one is big. This is not a fascinator, no?
No.
It's a helicopter.
That's we call it the umbrella. The umbrella
I
hat.
almost get it.
Right. So this is, you know, this is a big hat. And this did well the other day for the horse racing at Cayman as part the Diamond Mile.
Yeah, for, the cars,
Yes.
cars thing.
Yes.
Cars, you have to go pay for that. one.
Diamond Mile,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
And this is another fascinator.
And that's another fascinator.
Okay, so this is an umbrella.
Nude
So
or
much something like this
braid.
would cost. You can tell
Yes,
us?
something like this would cost like 7,500.
7,500, and this would be
And
like...
this would cost like $3,000.
3,000.
$3,000.
Oh, so a little bit of money, man.
Jamaican dollars.
Little bit of money,
That's
and
a
this
lot
is
of
like a traditional
And
look
this
now.
is now like a traditional hat.
Mhm.
You know, for that elderly person, for that first lady.
Yes.
Because this particular style hat and this material is mostly first ladies come to the store and buy.
And buy this.
These, yes.
And this is another, which is that now?
Yes. So now this is our famous, one of our famous petal hats.
Yes.
It's made from felt.
Felt.
Right,
Okay.
it's made from a felt material. This also, it's the same thing, but it's a different pattern. So these are just small hats that you just put
Put at the little side
at your
there.
little side, you know, to bling out and give your clothes a different look, you
And
know.
something like this
Right.
is how much now?
And something like this is 4.8.
4.8.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So these are some of the products from Kahyee hats and accessories.
And
You sell other
access-
stuff. What other stuff you sell?
We sell handbags, we sell brooches, and we used to sell clothing. We are not currently doing clothes at the moment, but we are reintroducing it in this this new year.
So once again, it's Kahyee hats and accessories located. What's the number, site?
12 Slipe Road.
Nearby Emmanuel.
Right on
there,
Emmanuel's property, on the side of Emmanuel.
Okay, give them a phone number as well.
You can get us at 876-922-2691. That's the store number. And my 876-922-2691. And my personal cell phone is 876-890-9630. That's 876-890-9630.
Yes, so you're saying that the way how the payment work out in the 1 year, it has to be God.
It has to be
It
God.
seems as if you have proven God on more than one occasion.
This is a whole story by itself, but God...
Give us a short version.
Boy, let's see, I don't know if there's a short version, but
Alright, just tell us
the Lord
as
is
it
the
is.
center of my life.
Yes.
So I live for Him. So that experience was a miraculous one for me, how I was able to pay for that business. And just being able to go through all that I went through, some of what I haven't even mentioned here, and be standing today is a miracle. But for me, the major miracle for me was the keeping of my mind. That has been a miracle. In 2016, I got a nervous breakdown, which I don't talk about a lot, but God held me in the palm of His hands.
2016.
2016.
So what was happening at that time that caused the stress?
Nothing really was happening. And up to today, I just can't understand what went wrong, but something did indeed go wrong. But just how the whole thing played out, I must say it is the hands of God that's keeping me until this blessed day. He has just been the master of my finances.
Okay.
The master. Miraculous God. There's none other.
So you continue to maintain contact with Mr. Jordine after this first
Yeah, man. So when he gave me the
collaboration.
first money now,
Yes.
you know, it wasn't him give you money and you probably think him a try for
Yeah.
buy you.
Yeah.
You know?
So you never sold out on it.
No, sir. So me make him know
Yeah.
Clear, so look here. It's who you owe me this money.
Yes.
Yeah?
All right.
After you not look after my son all long,
Yes.
somebody come think you can hold it over my head.
Yes.
Right? So, you owe me this money and many more
So
monies.
you don't owe him nothing.
So I don't owe you nothing.
Yeah.
You can go about your business.
Yeah.
But he hanged on. And what surprised me, he apologized to my mom. He apologized to my sister. He apologized to my friends.
So it seemed genuine then, man?
He apologized to my pastor.
What?
Yes, for how he treated me and the child over the years. And so, you know, I just started to talk to the Lord about it and asked him what he really wanted of me. But what surprised me was when this gentleman one day, he said to me, I need a copy of your ID. And I said to him, why? He said he's looking about some papers. And I said, okay. Because I'm like that, I'm a trusting person. I just sent it to him. The next thing I knew is that he transferred all his bank accounts. My name was on all his bank accounts in the state.
Just like that?
Just like that. Right? And I didn't even realize it was so easy. But once they have your ID and your TRN, then he could have put my name on his bank account. So he did that. And I said, okay, this gentleman looked like him serious.
Making steps in the right direction.
Right. So he came back to Jamaica Father's Day, and he was baptized in the name of Jesus at Pentecostal Tabernacle. And then he went back to New York. I went to New York shortly after that, and I took him to a church that I knew there, and he started to go to that church, and then he got the Holy Ghost in December of 2012, and we got married March 2013.
Thanks. Tell us about, quickly, your daughter, how that process came about as we try to wrap up.
All right. When we got married in 2013, because of my experiences in life, I had asked the Lord, I told the Lord I didn't want any more children. And because of the situation with my back, the doctors had advised me no more children, and the gynecologist had said my womb is low, so she wouldn't advise me to try to get children, you know. So we got married.
Right off the stop. So we had to make a minor adjustment because of the rain and thing, but let's just try and wrap up. So you got married to your son's father after all these years because you were showing commitment, and he got himself committed with God as well. So this looked like a step in the right direction. So you two tied a knot. Tell us about your children. You have two lovely children now, Grace and Hannah.
Hannah Elizabeth.
Hannah Elizabeth.
Right.
That in and of itself was also a miracle.
Yeah.
You had gotten a vision that you were going to get a child.
Yes. First of all, I think one of the greatest miracles in my life is Vin and myself coming back together. Because I remember when I had Akeem, I just have to say this very fast, very quickly. I used to cry and I said, Lord, my name is Mullings. He's Jordine. I don't want another child.
Yes.
Because I don't want me to be Mullings, him to be Jordine, because that's really not how my family dynamics. My grandmother was married, my mother was married. I really don't want 3 different names in a household, so no more children. But then by the time Vincent and I got married, I realized that I was now Jordine. Akeem is Jordine, and I think that was one of the greatest miracles. It might seem simple,
but after all those
every
years.
day after all those years. And why it's a miracle? I never had another child, and Vincent never had another child.
Seriously?
So we both only had the one child, which was common to both of us, and that was Akeem.
After 15 years.
After 15 years.
No more for you, no more for him.
No more for him.
Yes.
And so we got married March 9, 2013, which was a perfect day in every sense. And that in itself was another miracle. And then now, it came to the time when I said, okay, Lord, I know I said I didn't want any more children. But you know, now I'm married. He didn't get to grow Akeem. I'd really like if he could grow a child.
That experience.
Right. And I remember quite well because I took pictures with the dates attached to them just to know if I wasn't dreaming. I remember quite well, November 15 of 2013, I was in Florida and I was sleeping. And in my sleep, I know it was the Holy Spirit that said to me, when you go to the mall tomorrow, buy yourself a maternity dress. And I said, really no? Maternity dress? Remember now, I was not in church.
Yes.
And I was not married, but I had relationships. and you were not always 100% careful. I never had another child. So I was like, okay, this must be a joke. But anyway, I went to the mall and I didn't find a maternity dress. And I was coming out of the store and I felt like someone spun me around. And when
Yeah, you felt like
somebody spun me around. And when I looked up, I saw a grey dress hanging there. And when I went over to it, it was not a maternity dress per se, but it was one of those tent dresses, and it was exactly my size. I took it up and I was heading to the cashier, and the same voice said to me, go and buy a dress for a little girl. I got excited and I bought 3 dresses. The Spirit reprimanded me and I said 1. I was so excited, I ran home, I took the pictures and I sent them to Vincent. And I said, Vincent, we are going to have a little girl.
Specifically.
That's what the Lord said. He made me buy a dress. Boys don't wear dresses. By the time Vincent came to Jamaica, came home in December, and by February, we realized that we were pregnant. But by then, things was again very tight for me financially. I don't know. I had a business going, but it was not doing well. It was not being supported. I had staff to pay and things were just very bad. And so by this time, when he came, we got pregnant and then I was having issues. Seems as if I was losing the baby, but I couldn't go to the doctor. I had to wait on a friend to take me to the doctor. Went to the doctor. He said I was pregnant, but there was no heartbeat, so I lost that baby, which we mourned for. But then by April, I was pregnant again.
So the dream was the last?
No, never last. And then this was by June now. I found out when I was pregnant, the same day my son was doing the surgery for the injury that he got for his foot. Right, and that's how my first girl came about, which is Hannah Elizabeth. She was the baby from that experience. And then after that, didn't really want another child, but Grayson came along. And that experience in itself was also a miracle because that was a very bad and hard experience for me. But the Lord took us through, and we have 2 beautiful girls. One is Hannah Elizabeth, one is Grayson, and both their names means the same, which they were never named by us.
Yes.
Because I don't like Bible names.
Yes.
But it's a long story, but how we got Hannah Elizabeth's name was out of my devotion one morning. The Lord said to me, I have granted you grace and favor. And that's you and Vincent coming back together. It's not something normal. So this is what you will name this child, which is Hannah. And Hannah means grace and favor. Yes. And he attached Elizabeth to it. And so when I was pregnant with Grace, and I said, okay, Lord, what's this baby's name? He didn't answer me. I went to China 7 months pregnant and I came back. And my friend Roshana said to me, Kahyee, what's the baby's name? And I said, I don't know, but somehow I'm getting Grace. But I don't want to name her Grace. And she said, funny, I dreamt that the baby's name is Grace. And right there, confirmation that she should be named Grace. So Grace, and when I looked for it, you know what grace means. And means favor. So both children, their names mean grace and favor. Yeah.
Boy, Kahyee, you have shared so much with us today, and we are so grateful for all of these stories that you have shared. Just give our viewers a word of encouragement as we go.
I would just like to encourage each and everyone to form that relationship with the great God. He's the pilot of our ships, and He's the only one that can take you through this world.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for tuning in, viewers. You see the rain is falling. We have to hurry up and wrap up. We're getting wet up. But we're doing this for you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Another in our series, A Story to Tell. We are so delightful that you took the time out to tune in. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, TTN. You look for us on TTN. You can look for us on Facebook. Remember, you can get your products and your business advertised on our WhatsApp network. You contact us in the description below. And we'll see you another time. Thanks for tuning in and have a blessed day.
again.